Efrat. This here is le'atzlochas, the soldier Ziv Shmuel ben Orli Efrat. He is the soldier I'm learning for. B'toch shachar le'Yisrael, and for the hatzal of all the shvuim. Yeah. Shem Yishmor, that all of them should come back home very, very quickly. We are here in Avas Shalom in the Amud Yomi Shiur of Maseches Kiddushin. Today's Amud is Yudalad Amud. Welcome everybody here in Havas Shalom, Kolol in Bet Shemesh. Welcome back, Yaakov. Welcome to people on Zoom and to the people on Torah anytime and our YouTube channel. Vayivoma niknes bebia. Vayivoma niknes bebia. Lilnishma Sovimur Menachem Ben Kiva Rus Bashalom Sobas Moshe Aviva Bas Moshe Lafuas Nina Chai Bas Giola Rochel Chana Betzima Besoch Shochel Yisrael Lilu Nishmas Hen Yerei Shabbas Elchon Ani Tzchak. Vayivoma niknes bebia. How do you know that a yavama is acquired to the yavam in bia? In other words, we discussed the woman, the Mishnah that we saw in Beis Amud Aleph. That Mishnah tells us that how does the yavama become fully acquired to her new husband? Who's the new husband? The brother of her deceased husband. Yeah, now she's with the brother. How do you know that the brother, she became his wife? How does that happen? Through bia, only through relations, nothing else. Yeah. In other words, when the husband dies, the first one, she becomes zekuka. She becomes someone who cannot marry whoever she wants. It's an Isra Doraisa. She's connected to his brothers. That connection is not full nisuin. It's like the beginning, like something. Yeah, the zika means she can't marry other people. She can't go out and marry whoever she wants. But how do you know she's fully acquired to one of the brothers, preferably the older one, if they have bia together? Frekt the Gemara bebia minolan. What's the source that bia is what's going on? Omar Kra. Here the Torah says outright, says black and white. Yavama yava olea ulekoch leisha. The yavam should come upon her, should come on her. The yavam should be with her, and then lekoch leisha. And thus, says Rashi, kloimar be also hilikuchea ulekoch leisha. How does she become his wife? He takes her as a wife in the bia. Frag the Gemara. Wait a second. That's all very nice, but how do you know yavuma is yavama? Bia, how do you know bia is exclusive? Maybe it's inclusive, which means the ema lekula milsa keisha, which means since the Torah says leisha, seems like the yavama and isha. Whenever we say isha, we mean a regular marriage of regular woman. So maybe yavama, since the word isha is juxtaposed with bia, with yavoi, maybe it comes to tell me that just like a regular woman is nikna bebia as well as kesef ishtar. Maybe yavama also it's bia and also including kesef and shtar. Maybe it's all inclusive and not only bia. Isha, anyway, in isha is niknes, so to yavama will be nikna a regular woman and kesef shtar and bia. Enfert the Gemara lo yistalka daitach, doesn't make sense. No, don't entertain such a thought. Why? The Tanya says in the Brisa, yochel yu kesef v'shtar goimrim bo kederech shabia gomeres bo. Exactly your question is a question of the Brisa. Just like kesef and shtar goimrim, which means that, just like bia is goimer. What does it mean goimer? Finishes off the zika, finishes off into full marriage, yeah? And so too, maybe kesef and shtar will also finish the job, and from zekuka she'll be a full wife with kesef and shtar. Talmud lo imar ve'yibum. It says yavama yava oleho. Yeah, v'lekocho, and then later on it says v'yibum. The very last word in the pasuk is yibum. Why does the pasuk tell me again yibum? Which means the Torah repeats and tells me again yibum to tell me just like originally the beginning of the pasuk yavomo. Yavai oleo comes to tell me that by bia, black and white, so to the end of the pasuk, which seems to be redundant, that word again yibum, to tell me only the classical regular yibum and nothing else, excluding kesef and shtar. Wait a second, there's something else that we can learn from yibum. The ema, let me suggest, my v'yibum. What does v'yibum mean? The baal kocho miyabim. Maybe yibum means that he can only be miyabim baal kocho. He can only be miyabim, not only, that's wrong what I said, that's not true what I'm saying. Also Baal Kocho. Let's say the yibum is done against her will. It's a very big chiddush. She can't marry a woman against her will. Let's say there was bia against the will of the yavama. she became his wife. It's a big chiddush. And that is really what the posuk yibum comes to tell me. A second time it says yibum, yeah, not second time, but yavom yovoleo. And again yibum, to give extra strength to the bia, that the bia can work against the will and she becomes the yavomo, and that's a chiddush. And how do you know yavomo comes to tell me that you exclude kesef star? And says the Gemara, no, imken, if so, lema krovi bem. If the Torah just wanted to tell me one message of Baal Kocho, of against her will, the Torah should have said, Yibem I vibmo. What does it say? Yibem her. Yibema is like two words in English. Yibem ota. It was meyabem her. Of course it's her, nobody else. Who do you think is meyabem? Yeah, obviously the Yibama. Shmat mino tauti. From here we can learn two things. So let's summarize. How do you know Yavama is nickness bebia? It says Yavo right? How do you know only yibum of bia and nothing else? Because it says vibmo. Again, it says I. Maybe that comes to tell me that it's bal kocho. True. From one word, we can learn two things: yibum even bal kocho, and also yibum only by bia and not through kesef and shtar. How can you learn two things from one word? It's really two words: yibem ha, yibma, yibem oisa. Very good. B'chalitza. Next, please. B'chalitza. What's b'chalitza? Minolan. How do you know that a woman does chalitza yavoma? We're still the same yavoma, and we all know that the second option instead of what? Yibum. If he doesn't want her, then what do? In many cases, she doesn't want him, and we take her into consideration. What do? Chalitza. She takes off his shoe. There's a special shoe in BSD A. There's a shoe that he wears. She takes it off. She spits on the floor in his presence, yeah, right in front of him, and she says, Beis Chalutzanal, she says, Kacha Yose Laish, yeah, that's what you do to the man, the one who doesn't want to rebuild his brother's name, that's what you do to him. You take off his shoe and you spit on the floor in his face, and then everyone says Chalutzanal. Everyone says that he's considered to be Chalutzanal, the one that didn't want to do the mitzvah. It's kilu something degrading for him. Although today that's a done thing, but that's the other option. Instead of yibum, you do chalitza, and then she's allowed to marry whoever she wants. Back the Gemara minolan, which means, how do we know? What do you mean? How do you know? It says in the Torah chalitza. Says Rashi, it's very nice that it says she does chalitza and she's not miyabim, but maybe she still can't marry whoever she wants. That's a very interesting havamina. We always connect chalitza to let free, let go, loosen up. She can do whatever she wants. It's not so simple. Maybe the Torah never says it outright. Unbelievable. Like after all these years, I just figured it out now. The Torah never says she should be choilet and then marry whoever she wants. It doesn't say it. It says she's choilet and therefore she's not his yavama. But maybe she still is what? Is kuka forever. And maybe now she can still not marry whoever she wants. Maybe she's just stuck without being married to anybody. Maybe. Because the spirit of her dead husband is still, as it says in the Malbi, Mekashkeshes, his spirit is still there. Maybe she can't marry whoever she wants, even after chalitza. I don't know. Chalitza is basically the equivalent of a get of a regular woman that allows her to marry whoever she wants. It says in the Torah, "V'nikra shmo b'Yisrael beis chalutzanal." Oh, it says his name in Israel will be beis chalutzanal. Now there is a drosha here. The word Israel, if you notice, bais and chalutz all appear one next to each other. Says the drosha. Once he was choletz nal, then b'Yisrael beis chalutz. In other words, she can marry any beis Yisrael. She can build a home, a bais with anybody from Klal Yisrael. That's what we learned. It's not outright. It's a drosha. Yisrael beis chalutz nal, which means after chalitza, go girl, go to Shidduchim and marry wherever you want. You can build a bais with Yisrael, any Yisrael. Correct the Gemara, Hi Yisrael Achid also. The word Yisrael comes to tell me that Ani Baile, it comes to tell me something else. Like the Tani Rav Shmuel Bar Yehuda. Yeah, Rav Shmuel Bar Yehuda says as follows: BeYisrael, beBezdin shel Yisrael, v'lo beBezdin shel Ovdei Kochovim. Upa. The word Yisrael comes to tell me that the chalitza process should be done in a Jewish court and not a Goyish court. Now that we all raise an eyebrow. Also Shlomo, and you're right. Because, of course, what do you mean? Of course, you can't do something in chalitza and bezdin of goyim. Even money matters, which goyim may have understanding in, yeah. Still, it says mufurash, elo dvom shtosim lifneim, yeah, and not before goyim. You're not allowed to mishpatim. Sorry, you're not allowed to be done by goyish court or even secular court, let alone chalitza, which is completely ben adam l'mokum kind of thing. Why would goyim be in the story? Therefore, I think all Rishonim, Rash, Baritam, everyone changes the Gemara of the gears of the Gemara and says lo bebeizin shel geirim. Geirim, you have a Dayan who's a big Talmid Chacham. He learned the Yonas, and his father's name is, we all know the name, Tim McKenzie. He's called Avram McKenzie, Avram Shmerel Beryl McKenzie. The Avram Shmerel Beryl McKenzie, a very big Talmid Chacham, cannot officiate as a Dayan in the Beis Din of the chalitza. Why? Well, you know why. You just heard. Because it says, Nikra Shmo B'Yisrael, it has to be a Beis Din of Israel. Now, that leads us to the Gemara, which we learned many moons ago in Sanhedrin. Sanhedrin down from Midvav Amud Beis, it says that the Mishnah there, the fourth parak of Sanhedrin, the Mishnah says there are 10 differences between Beis Din of Mammon to deal with monetary laws and Beis Din Shel Nefashos to deal with matters of life and death, whether you're going to execute a person. So then it says one of the differences, the last one on the list, if I'm not mistaken, is the Beis Din of Momminus. People who are Geirim can be the Beis Din. They can judge, they can officiate in the Beis Din of Momminus. And in Din and Nefashos, you cannot have Geirim officiating there. Why? So about the Beis Din of the Nefashos, it says when Yisro told Moshe Rabbeinu, Fani Laf Yisro, the Goy, and then the Ger, he told Moshe, they'll be with you. The Dayanim were 70 people, yeah, together with you, yeah. I'm not sure actually that's one of Yisro. Could be that's one later in Bamidbar, because Baruch Hu told him that. In the event when Moshe Rabbeinu was called to have 70 people next to him, actually it's not Yisro. So it says, together with you, they should come. Yeah, I think so. What? Excuse me? The Etzal could be around there, yeah. So then it says they should be like you, just like Moshe Rabbeinu has good yichus, so too they should be miyuchosim. Mamzerim can't be in the Beis Din of Nefashos, neither gerim, lahavdil, as much as we love them. In Dinei Mominus, they can be. Here the Torah says that the Beis Din of a chalutza is like a Beis Din of Nefashos, and gerim cannot officiate. Now, there is saving grace, and that is actually not so much. By the Dinei Mominus, it says that even there, gerim who are complete gerim from both sides, complete ger, both parents are goyish or are not Jewish, he cannot be in the Beis Din of Nefashos, of Mominus, even of money, unless his mother is a Yisrael. If the mother is a Yidden Teh, and even though the father is a goy, yeah, so he's not really a ger, yeah. So then he can be a dayan, yeah, or maybe he's a ger and his mother is also a ger. Then I'm not sure, but ger on both sides, no, ger on both sides cannot be in the Beis Din of even Mominus. Although that's machlokes Rishonim, how to explain it, and that's a whole different story. What? Yeah, Ruth was a Gioris, right? Yeah, Gioris can do chalitza, but he can't be the Beis Din. Can't be the Beis Din of Ger, right? I'll be with you in a second. But right now, in a question, you telling me that the word Shmo B'Yisrael comes to tell me she can marry any Yisrael after the chalitza. That's not true. You need a posuk for something else to tell me that the dayan should be a Yisrael. And says the Gemara, Trei B'Yisrael Ksivi. It says twice the word B'Yisrael in the psukim. If you check, it says it twice. First time, yeah, is the Torah tells us in third person, and also she says, yeah, that he is not interested to be making Bais B'Yisrael. It says twice. One time to exclude a ger from being in Beis Din, and the other time is to tell me that she may build her Bais B'Yisrael after the chalitza. Yes, question. You okay? In any event, answers the Gemara, it says it so twice, as we said, once to tell me that she's allowed to marry anybody, the other one to tell me that the Beis Din has to consist of Israelites, of Jews from birth. The Akati, Frag the Gemara, I insist, still, Mibaile, there's another thing, another halacha we want to learn from the Drosh of Siyata Dishmaya. The Kedetani, it says in the Baisa, Omar Biuda, one time we were sitting in front of Rab Tarfon, Rab Yehuda, Rab Tarfon. It's annoying. Can you imagine? Ubasa Yavama Lachlot. Yavama came to do chalitza. Her and her Yavam came to do chalitza. And he told us, Anu kulchem v'imru. Everyone, after she did the chalitza, everyone together follow me and say, Chalutz anal, chalutz anal, 3 times. Say after me, chalutz anal, chalutz anal, chalutz anal. In other words, why do we know, how do we know that the BSD and other people standing there should say, should pronounce and say that he's chalutz anal, chalutz anal? How do you know that? Because it says, Beikor Shmoy B'Yisrael. His name should be called B'Yisrael in the congregation. The name literally should be called, should be out, should be spoken, should be uttered, yeah, and called out, Chalutz Anal. So that's another thing you learn from there. You only have 2 droshes and 3 halachos. That's musical chairs. And says the Gemara, Hahu, that halacha? No. Mivenikra Shmoy Nafka. We don't learn it from the word B'Yisrael. We learn it from Venikra Shmoy. You should call his name, literally name calling. You should call and say, Chalutz Anal, Venikra Shmoy. But the word Yisrael, as of itself, you learn it from something, that you learn something else from, that you learn the halacha of the Dayanim, and the other Israel, to tell me she can marry. And from Nikra Shmoy, calling the name tells you that people have to pronounce and say that he is Chalutz Anal. Ubemisa Sayovam. Okay, so now we know what? We know that a Yavama is Koines Atzma, Niknes Bebia. We know that from yibum. We know that she can acquire herself back to herself and marry wherever she wants from chalitza, because why? Now, what else do we know? Misa Sayavam. No, we don't know. How do you know that Misa Sayavam, that the death of the Yavam, let's say the 2 brothers, Reuven, Chas v'Shalom Aleinu, died in Gaza. How many children did he have? 0. Come on, let's learn. Shimon, the brother, now has to do chalitza. Let's say Shimon died. If Shimon died, then automatically she can marry. Yeah, Shimon's death, he's the one who's her Yovam. If he died, similar to the husband. Just like if the husband dies, so to Shimon, who, by the way, did not have chalitza and did not have yibum. They were not together. Shimon and the woman, his sister-in-law, right now, are in a situation of zika, that halfway. Nothing was finished, neither this way or the other. And if he dies, she's out. She's not called anymore Yavomo Lashuk. She's not anymore Zikuka. She's a free woman. Very sad. How many months does she have to wait until she remarries? 3 months, and then she can remarry Bezos Hashem, and here's amazing. Minolan, how do you know? How do you know that if the Yavam dies, then she can remarry? And don't look at me, because if you remember the shiur from Thursday, from previous Amud, we saw that even the death of the husband is really, really, really not so simple to say that if husband dies, then his wife is free to go, right? Why? Why not? Why would there be a havamina that if the husband is dead, we still kind of treat him as if he's still alive, and she's also to marry other people? Why would we have said that Thursday this year? Anybody? Because by arayas. Because I'm not allowed to marry my father's second wife, even though my father died. All right, so you see that a person after his death, yeah, his life is still mashpia, still applies, still functional regarding post-marriage, post-death, post-mortem marriage. So maybe every woman. Then we brought a raya from where? From a war, actually, unfortunately relevant. It says outright, if a man goes to war, right, another man may marry his wife who's at home, yeah, after he dies. But now Yavam, how do you know? Hey, excuse me. How do you know that if Yavam dies, then she automatically can marry and go scot-free? How do you know? Answers the Gemara, Kol v'chomer. Uma eshes ish she bechenek. An eshes ish that has relations outside marriage, if she is unloyal to her husband, yeah, then what? She gets chenek. She and her friend get the misa of chenek, strangulation, and yet misa sabal metiroso. It's so severe, the punishment on her, and yet the death of the husband allows her to the world, basically permits her free to go. If so, kal v'chomer yevama she belav lokol sheken, a yevama who's belav. What happens to yevama who's kuka, my friends? Let me know, please. Tell me, what do you think? A yevama did not do chalitza, did not do yibum. Shimon is waiting for her to either do yibum or chalitza yibum. She waits for him. Meanwhile, she got a good friend, and one night they did what they did. What's the punishment? Huh? No chenek. She's not an eshes ish. Her husband died in Gaza. Chas shalom. Elamai. It's a lav. It's a lav doraisa. Yeah, that she's not allowed to go out. Yeah, lotia, lotu chalotzes, remember the words exactly. Yeah, she cannot go out and be with whoever she wants. It's a lav doraisa. She gets malchus, I guess. Like all lavim doraisa, as far as I know. Maybe it's nita class A. I don't think so. But it's a regular lav doraisa. There's no death penalty. So she's much lighter. She's not an eshesish. She's yavam malashuk. Yeah, she's kuka. If so, then what? Then kol sheken. Again, uma eshes. I'm repeating. Eshesishi bechenik so severe. And yet, Mrs. Abal Mitiroso, even a severe one, the regular married woman, the death of the husband allows her to go scot-free. Yavoma she belav only. Yavoma's prohibition is just allowed without death penalty. So Yavoma is lighter. Loikol sheken. Of course, that the death of the Yavam should definitely be matir her. And that's a good source. That's a good proof. Correct the Gemara, another, basically now we want to challenge that kal v'chomer. Mal eshes ish can yotze beget. Tomer b'zu shenetze beget. Excuse me. You think eshes ish is so much more severe? No, not true. Eshes ish has a way out called get, and the Yavama doesn't have that way out called get, right? So you see, an eshes ish in a way is lighter than her, is more in a way lenient because she has get, while the Yavama doesn't have the get. And says the Gemara, honami yotze b'chalitza. No, she has an equivalent of get. She has chalitza. So nice. At the end of the day, when it comes to a woman and a yavoma, a regular woman and a yavoma, each one has one way out that the other one doesn't. So on the scoreboard, they are tied. She has chalitza to get out of the story, and she has get to get out of her story. No one has the other. If so, oh, very nice. If so, then we still have the kal v'chomer of her being bechenek and her not being bechenek. Ella, zog the Gemara, excuse me. No, it's not true what you're saying. Maleshes ishikin oisro matira. You cannot compare get to chalitza. Why? A get makes a lot of sense. Oisra matira. Who is the one? Let's say Rochel is married to Reuven. Let's stay with very conservative names. Rochel is married to Reuven. Reuven Pochachovsky III. Why can't she marry anybody that she wants? She's dying to get out of that horrible marriage. Why can't she get out of the marriage until she gets to get who's not allowing her? The life of who? Reuven Pochachovsky III. That one, only that one man. The marriage to him made her osir. Obviously, the get given from him will make her mutter. Mashenkin by Yavama, this is getting lumped a little bit. By Yavama, it's not true. Why did she get into this whole story of Zika? Because of Reuven, who's now 5 feet under, who died in Gaza in a tank. That's why she's in the story. So who says Shimon's chalitza can allow her? We know Shimon's chalitza can allow her. That's true. But don't compare it to a get. In other words, that's not comparable. The get and chinami is something more which makes sense, which is kal. It's a kula. Reuven lets her in, lets her out, right? And now the yibum, and let me ask more specifically. Forget about chalitza. I was wrong. It's not chalitza, it's a death. In other words, why is she in the story of being connected to Shimon? It didn't start with Shimon. It started with Reuven's life. When Reuven put the finger on the ring on her finger, I don't know, a year ago, a year before the Gaza war, that's when she got connected to Reuven and indirectly, subsequently, to Shimon, because he's a brother, right? It all started with marriage for Reuven. So Reuven is the one who actually got her into the story of Easter. Who says the death of Shimon can allow her? Forget about chalitza. Why is the death of Shimon can allow her what Reuven created? Maybe that's not true. Maybe you don't have that option, right? And you don't compare it b'chlal, not to the death of a regular husband, not to the get of the regular husband. Amar Ravashi, no, not true. You could have said that, but we don't. Honami oisra matira. Yovam oisra, yovam shari lo. Which means, says the Gemara, not true. At the end of the day, the one who, let me mark that word with big red letters, with big red underline, currently. The current Isser that she has is not because of Reuven. Currently, why can't Rachel marry anybody that she wants? She already dated another guy. Why not? Because Shimon is alive. It's true that Reuven is the one who started the story when he married her. That got her into the family business of Zika. But currently, it's a life of Shimon who answers her. Because she's supposed to do something with Shimon, either chalitza, bia of yibum, or something, mimer, something that. So Shimon is the one who's a stumbling block her. So if Shimon now is dying, if Shimon died, in Mela we know that Shimon is the one who was matir, the one who answered. And now we can go back to who? to the kal v'chomer. Very good. Yeah. In other words, that's the word. That's the idea. In other words, mitzad Reuven, or Reuven Shimon, it's the same thing. A regular woman is married to Reuven. Yeah. Reuven's death allows her. A Yavama, it's true it started with Reuven and ends up with Shimon, does make a difference. Currently, the ushering force is Shimon. He's the ushering factor. He's the one whose presence is blocking her from marrying other people, right? So his death would allow it. Ah, you're asking me, how do you know? You have a kal v'chomer. A kal v'chomer, if an Eshes issue is more severe than her, still a husband's death allows that, so to her, the Yavama, who's much lighter, a Yavam who has relations outside the yibum system, very bad. It's a doraisa, not to be taken lightly, but it's not chiv misa, it's not chorus, way lighter. Kol sheken, the death of the one who answers, who happens to be Yavam, would allow her to the shu. That's a maskono. Weiter. Good? No? Yeah, question. If Shimon has Levi, Yehuda, Yisachar, Zvulun, then she is kuka to all of them. And one of them will do the yibum or the chalitza, preferably the older one, the before. One of them, no. She doesn't chalitza from all of them. No. Once she does chalitza, or, you're asking about death. Yeah, enechnami. If there's death of one of them, then she's still skuka to the other ones. Yeah, enechnami. So she needs chalitza from the other ones. Right. As far as I know, if Levi, the Zika then goes to the other ones. So they all have to die in order for her to be allowed. Or easier and less morbid is what? No, a get does not help Yavoma. No. Sorry. She needs to do chalitza or be misyabim to the younger brother. Yeah. Yes. Next now. Mazel tov. Now we know why Yavoma is niknes be-bia and kones atzma be-chalitza or be-misa sayovom. Now the Gemara is going to ask the crisscross questions. Back the Gemara, now we're going to have like cross references. V'tehe eshes ish yoytzo be-chalitza. Maybe an eshes ish can also go out and become free with chalitza. Wow. Every eshes ish, instead of a get, do something much easier. Go to BSD. She should take off his shoe, spit on the ground in his presence, not in his face, in his presence, and go out. The Torah doesn't say that. Mikal v'chomer. Look, I can create a very nice kal v'chomer and try and create a situation that every married woman would have chalitza. What would be the kal v'chomer? Remember, I just told a minute ago, right, Yosef? Yavama cannot go out with a get. There's no such option in the Torah. Yavama going with a get. Yoytze b'chalitza, and yet Yavama may go out with chalitza. So you see, chalitza is stronger than get. Zushi yoytze b'get. The regular woman who obviously can go out with a get can exit the marriage with a get. Enudin sheyotze b'chalitza. Clearly, she can go out with chalitza too. That would be a very nice kal v'chomer. Answers the Gemara, nice, but no. Omar kro sefer krisus. It says in the Torah an extra word. The kosev lo sefer krisus. He should write to her a document of krisus, a document of severing, of cutting off. If he wrote it, it's a document, it's a sefer. Obviously, didn't write in the air. The word sefer is extra, it's redundant. It comes to tell me, as we saw already in Daf Gimel, by the way, sefer koilso ben dover acher koilso. That's a very, very easy way out. Clear cut, just like the get itself. Sefer krisus. The only way to get out of marriage besides the death of the husband is sefer. The only thing that's correct, the only thing that severs, that cuts off clearly, is a get, is a sefer, a document, excluding what? Excluding the chalitza. No chalitza of a regular woman. Very nice. Now, frag the Gemara, Yosef, betei yavoma yoitzes beget. Oh, why not? Who told you? Maybe Yavama should also be able to go out with a get, also from a kal v'chomer. Uma eshes ish she'en yoytze b'chalitza yoytze beget. An eshes ish cannot go out with chalitza, as we already established. Eshes ish, chalitza doesn't free her. She can take off his shoe as many times as she wants, spit in the ground as much as she wants, 1,000 times. It won't do anything. And yet yoytze beget, she can go out with the get. If so, zu she'yoytze b'chalitza. And din sheyoytze beget. Oh, so the one who does go out with chalitza, which is the obviously Yavama, let her go out with a get kal v'chomer. Let the Yavama go out through a get. Omer ko, very nice, but no. It says in the pasuk, yeah, what is the text? What is the sentence that the Yavama actually says to Beis Din after the chalitza? She says the following words. She says, "Kacha yaseh laisha shelo yivnes beis ochiv." Kacha yaseh, but not a very happy pasuk, as opposed to Haman. Yeah, Kacha yaseh is a sad sentence. This should be done. Kacha means this way. This is what should be done to the man which doesn't want to rebuild the house of the name, the family, the house of his brother. What does that teach us? Kacha, the word kacha, when I tell you, do it this way, it means something very specific and exclusive. Kacha ikuva, two words. What's the ikuva in halacha? Can you translate it in good English for me? Constraint. Constraint. That's a very nice word. Constraint. Absolutely. Who am I to argue? Kacha ikuva, which means this is the way it should be done in no other way. This is what should be done, meaning chalitza, excluding what? Excluding get. Nice idea to give get to Yavama. Very cool, very kal v'chomer. But no. Kacha yoseh, this way should be done, is ikuv, to tell me only this is me'akev, only this in normal English, lakev is to hold back. That's the only thing that holds you back from marrying another guy, is this. And other things, no. Okay, very nice. Kochu seems to be very strong, exclusive loshon, but still the Gemara insists. Even if the Torah seems to be exclusive and tells you an extra word this way, don't we say that although the word kacha or another exclusive term, yeah, is there, can't we still try to add another kind of option through a kal v'chomer? Let me explain something. When the Torah says something exclusive, it means that Akiva Tachtel or Ellen or Yitzchak or Tzvi or whoever, we can't just decide other ideas on, can't just invent other ideas because the Torah says this way. But if there's a Kal V'chomer is something that Chazal darshan, right, is a Chazal tool. If so, we're going to prove very soon that sometimes the Torah can be exclusive, and yet the Torah, the Gemara entertains the thought of adding another item to the list, not from our own minds or own logic, but through kal v'chomer. And this should be also the case over here. You should add the chalitza as a get, as a chalitza, because of a kal v'chomer. Where did we see in the Torah that the Torah says an exclusive word to come to exclude other things, and yet we may add other things because of kal v'chomer? As much as exclusive is from the Torah, kal v'chomer is also from the Torah. Listen to this. Soon is Yom Kippur. The Gemara, what are the two seirim that you bring on Yom Kippur? One goes LaHashem, and one is a very nice said LaZozel. Who decides which seir should go to the holiest of the holiest, and who decides it's going to go to the desert? The Kohen decides? No, it's a goyrol, lottery ticket. Lottery. He takes up the two pieces of wood, Beda de Veshkara, LaHashem, LaZozel. If LaHashem comes on this one, you put LaHashem on this seir, you like the Azazel, patlak. It says it should be the right hand. I'm not going to details now. Make your adin. Yeah, let's say one seir is here, the other seir is there. Coin faces both seirim, both goats, yeah. And if it says LaHashem, here, this one goes LaHashem, or vice versa. Complete mazel on purpose. There's all philosophy why it's done that way. That's the way it should be done. What about if the coin decides, no. I'm not into a lottery, I'm afraid I'll become addicted, So what does he say? He says, no, I'll decide. I'll say you're LaHashem and you're LaZozel. Is that going to work? No. Zog the Gemara, Vayom Kippurim. Regarding Yom Kippurim and the Shnei Seirim, Seir LaZozel, Seir LaHashem, Seir Mishtaleach, it says there, Dichtiv Goyrol. What's Goyrol? Goyrol, fate, luck, basic, what? Lottery. Yeah, good. The Chukah. It says about Yom Kippur, chukah, chok, law, chukah, law, constitution. Chukah means that's the way it should be done and no other way. In other words, just like the word kacha means only this way, the word chukah also means just this way, no other. Betanya. So wait a second, let's freeze right there. So if the Torah, if the Torah says the way it should be done is by goyrol, you can't decide on your own. It only has to be done with goyrol, with a lottery, and it says chukah only this way. At this happy moment, according to you, there's not even a thought, that I could have done it any other way. Because it says only this way. And look what it says in the Brisa. Betanya says the Brisa in Yuma, discussing this. Ba'asahu chatos. It says it. What's it? The goyrel will make it chatos. A goyrel oise chatos. Then Hashem oise chatos. Only the girl decides that which one will go to be a chatos, meaning which one will be a korban kodesh kadoshim. The en Hashem oise chatos. Over here, Shem does mean Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Hashem means calling the name. If the Kohen decides, I'm giving names, I name. Oh, in English it would be called naming, right? There's a verb in English to name. If the Kohen names and the Kohen says, I'm not going, no, I'll name him as La Hashem and him La Azazel, it's not going to work. But now there's a Havamina. There's a brisa that contains, there was a Havamina to say that you could do it through naming and not through the lottery. Look what it says. Sheyochol, I would have thought, Valodinu. What's Valodinu? Meaning what? It's a Kal V'chomer. Every time the brisa says Valodinu means a Kal V'chomer. Uma b'mokom sheloi kiddush hagoyrol kiddush Hashem. Mokom shekiddush hagoyrol enudin shekadosh Hashem. Let me explain. Tell me another korban which we recently saw. We recently learned about another korban that contains two components, two animals. Yeah, one of them is oila, the other one is chatos. Where is that? Look at the Mazel Tov column in the newsletter. A baby was born. So what does the mommy have to bring? Chatos and oila. Chatos and oila. If she's not very rich, then she does bring the bring animal. She brings two birdie birds, one the chatos and one the oila. Now, who decides which one will be chatos, which one oila? They're both toirim, they're both bnei yonah, they're both doves, the turtle doves. Who decides? Is there a goyrel? No. It's Lashem. It's by naming. She, or there are two stages you can do it, either the beginning of the process when she buys it, or later on the Kohen. But either she, as far as I remember, the Kohen, they can decide which one will go where, but it's naming. There's no goyrel there. Oh, says the Brisa, if in the place of there's no goyrel, in a place where what? When there's no lottery there, it's just by naming, and naming does make a difference. Mokum shegidesh agor and din shekadosh Hashem. In a place where the goyrel, in a place where HaKadosh Baruch Hu decided it's just potluck, whoever wins the lottery wins to go to the Kodesh Kadoshim, Kol Sheken Kiddush Hashem. It doesn't mean Kiddush Hashem. Kol Sheken, if you name it, it becomes holy, which means the normal way of dealing with korbanos usually, except for Yom Kippur, is naming, right? Right? How do you know your korban is a chatas or an oil or an osham? You name it. You say, this is osham, this is oil. So even if the Torah goes out of his way to suggest this seemingly, I shouldn't say strange new idea of goyrel, I would say that's an option, but it's not the only option. Kal v'chomer from the normal korbanos. We found other korbanos that work together, oil and chatos, and there's naming. Maybe when the Torah says what a goyrel, it's another interesting option. It's nice and cool, but it's not the only way. That was a havamina. Talmud Loimer v'aso chatos. Comes the Torah and tells me, no, you, not you, v'aso who? It will make it chatos. Who's it? A goyrel is a chatos, ve'en Hashem is a chatos. It comes to tell me from the extra words v'aso chatos that it's exclusive. Really, only the lottery decides which shepsale, which goat would go here and which would go there, which one kodesh kadosh and which one lazazel. That's only there. But the naming doesn't do anything. Listen to this. Why is that? Because there's a special pasuk, v'aso chatos. Continues the Gemara. The timer. The reason why the lottery on the two Seirim of Yom Kippur are exclusive, the Ma'atei Kro, because the Torah excluded it with the words V'asohu. Only it's the goyrel and not the Kohen. Halav hachi. If not for that extra word, Darshinan Kal V'chomer. I would have learned the Kal V'chomer from the birds of the Yoledes, of the woman who gave birth. Afal gav dichtiv bechuka. I. Punch, strong punch. Although the magic word chuka, which is like the word kacha, this is the word which is exclusive, which seems to say only this way, yet mashma that there would have been, I could have entertained the thought of not only doing it this way, also another way. So you see that even words are exclusive, they still cannot face a kal v'chomer. A kal v'chomer is stronger than an exclusive word, and over there we had a special extra word that says v'asohu to exclude. So your big weapon here, the exclusive word kacha, doesn't mean anything. I can still claim. Let's now repeat. Let's now pinpoint the question again. What are we trying to find out? We got lost here with Yom Kippur and the Yoledis. We're trying to find out one thing. What Yosef was saying. Maybe Yavama should go out with a get. Why should Yavama go out with a get? Have a beautiful kal v'chomer. Yavama should go out with a get. If a regular woman is what not with chalitza and yet she goes with a get, what's her name? Yavama can go with chalitza. Kosh going to get kacha. So what if it says kacha? Who says it says this is the way to do chalitza, no other way besides chalitza? So what? A kal v'chomer can overcome a word of exclusivity. You are stuck now, my friend, and you don't have a source. Kacha means this way. Says Rashi, by the way, in a different Masechta in Chulin, Rashi says, so what would you do with the exclusive word? You learn it for something else, to exclude something else. They'll coexist. There's kal v'chomer, and exclusive means something else. You only exclude blacks, you don't exclude Jews, or exclude Jews, not blacks. I don't know, whatever. Don't excuse the example, yeah? Omar Kro, and says the Gemara, and Chinam, we have another source. La. It says in a get, we're starting now from the other direction, of a regular woman. What does it say by regular case of divorce? The kosav lo sefer krisus. You should write to her or for her a sefer krisus. La velo livomo. Which means when it says in the Torah, you should write to the woman sefer krisus. Who else do you think you're writing sefer krisus? It says there was a woman and he suspected her and not so. He doesn't want her. He wants to divorce her. Of course, he's writing it to her and not to the next door neighbor's cat. What are you coming to tell me? Elamai, law comes to tell me to her you write to get a regular woman and not a Yavama. Okay, very good. So Yavama was excluded from a get. As we saw many times. What does law lishma mean? I expect you to know it by now. If a man has what? 3 wives, and they're all called Sarah Bas Prince Abela. All are Sarah Bas Prince Abela, and he's not sure which one to divorce. He's in a divorcing mood. He's not sure which one. Can he just write Sarah but Prince Abela and later I'll decide which one? What do you say? No, you can't do that. Law lishma means at the time of writing the get, you, the husband, and the sofer who's your shliach, you should have a specific woman in mind. That's Sarah but Prince Abela. Yeah, the one with the black dress. That one, the one who, the specific one. If so, the word law is not coming to exclude Yavama. It comes to tell me it has the writing has to be from one woman and not another one. How can you have 2 droshes, 2 psukim for 2 limudim for 1 drosha? Answers were no. Trei la ksivi. This is something very, very important to know. People don't notice it. But when you read the parsha of divorce in the Torah, the same words repeat themselves twice. You know why? It's mamish the same sentence repeating itself twice. I'll explain to you why. It says if a man divorces a woman, yeah, and it says over there, it says, I'm reading here, the cause of law, the first husband, first wife, first everything, things went wrong. The cause of law, Sefer Krisus, writes a Sefer Krisus for her, I get, V'nosan Beyoda gives it in her hand, the Shilcha Mibeso, sends her from his house. Afterwards, the Torah tells and then she goes to marry who? Another guy. Continues the Torah, the saga, the soap story continues, and the Torah says, Usneo Ishachro, and the second man also hates her, because it says she was not a loyal person. And then exactly repeats the same words by guy number 2. She divorced Reuven, now she's married to Shimon. The Torah copies and pastes the same words. The cause of law Sefer Krisus, V'nosan B'yodav, V'shilchim Mibeisoi. Same thing. Yeah, exact. So therefore in Gittim, you always have one more. You know, you have like reservists. You have reserve pasuk to tell you again the same thing twice. Very good. So trei lo ksivi, the word law is written twice. One time law comes to exclude Yavamo, that's not beget. And one time law comes to tell me law lishmo. You have to have one woman in mind when you write the get. Very good. So both are written. Yeah, 2 droshes, 2 psukim. Musical chairs is good. Each child sits on a chair. Frek de gmore v'akate mibayle. Chad lo lishmo. Still, I claim that there aren't enough droshes. One time law comes to tell me lishmo. One time the Torah says because of law comes to tell me for her and not for any other woman who bears the same name. The idach law, another word, the other time it says law comes to exclude something else. La v'lo ila v'lechaverto. Well, how about a man is married to 3 wives and he wants to divorce all of them together? Wants to have a complete makeover, complete, changing the whole collection all in one go. So what does he do? He's writing a get to all three wives in one get. Areni Megah, he's Megash, all three wives, Prince, Bailey, and Hinda. All three together, it's Megash 1, 2, 3 in one get. Maybe that's good with different names. Lishma. It's not a problem, Lishma. He knows exactly who's Megarish. He's Megash Sprinza with a blue dress, and Bela with a red dress, and Krichtze with a green dress. So he's Megash all three women with Lishma, but all in one go. Why wasting three gittim, three things? Do it all in one. Yeah. Says the Torah, lo, v'lo lo v'lechaverto. Yeah, you can't divorce her and her friend, yeah, together. So now, so again, you have a problem, right? Because it says what? La only twice. And you're trying to learn three things. You want to learn la v'lo lishmo, la lishmo, la v'lo lechaverto. And also, what you're trying to learn is what? Excluding Yevomo. Yevomo is not in the store of get. Hey, only 2 chairs and 3 children. Only 2 droshes and 3 halachos to learn. Ella, therefore we completely change tone here. We regret and we say something new. Omar kro na'al. When it says in the Torah na'al, the word na'al apparently, as we're going to see, is redundant. Na'al in midyachina loi. When it says cholzo na'al, of course it's a na'al. When you take off lachlotz, only applies to shoes. Yeah, and it says already that there's a na'al in the story. The word na'al seems to be redundant. Yeah, it comes to tell you the only way she gets out of the zika of being yevama is na'al, as opposed to get. Na'al, only shoe, as opposed to a get. Good. Frek the Gemara, thy na'al, la'ach also. You're telling me that the extra word na'al mentioned is coming to tell me that the first wide line of the 3 at the bottom of the page? Haimi baile. We need it for something else. Like the Tanya, na'aloi, enli ela na'aloi, na'al shall call odaminole. The Torah says she should take off his shoe. Well, how do you know if, let's say, he borrowed another guy's shoe? Who's doing the yibum? Shimon, whose brother fell in Gaza. Shimon now needs to do yibum. She take off Shimon's shoe. Let's say the shoe does not belong to Shimon. By the way, people, in Beis Din, they have the Beis Din shoe. You know that? Beis Din has a special shoe for chalitza to fit the halachic standards. Yeah, maybe they're different sizes, I think. Yeah. But let's say Shimon doesn't have a shoe. He borrowed Yerachmiel's shoe. So maybe that's also okay. Maybe not. It says Na'alo, he's Na'al. Talmud Loimer Na'al, Na'al Riba. Oh, it says Na'al, comes to tell me Na'al, again, Lerabois, to include, even if it's not his shoe, but it's a shoe, it's a normal shoe, even belonging to someone else, it's still good. Hey, so excuse me, your drosha Na'al is not there to exclude a get. Your drosha Na'al is to include even other people's shoe. Imken says the Gemara, Matal Na'aloi. Yeah, if so, what's Na'aloi? Yeah, what does it say? Na'aloi. It says his Na'al, his shoe, right? What? Avli says what? Okay. I would say maybe it's only his Na'al, only his and not anybody else's shoe. I hear that. Answers the Gemara, Na'aloi hara'uiloi. Na'aloi doesn't mean it has to be his shoe. It has to be a kind of shoe which fits him. The shoe has to fit the foot, yeah. Prat, excluding legodol shen yochel halach boy. If the shoe is too big, he can't walk in it. As you say in English or Hebrew, he swims in it. Yeah, the shoe is a little bit too big. You swim in the shoe, not comfortable. Such a shoe is not good for him. Prat lekoton shen chofes rov ragloi. If it's too small, it doesn't cover his feet. It's like a sandal, the toes are like peeping out there. Yeah. So if so, prat, and also comes to tell you prat le misulim she'en loy akev. Or excluding mesulim is sulia sole that has no akev, doesn't have, it's just flat sole without the bottom part, either without a heel, or misulam shen akev could mean that it's no sole and heel. That's what they say. Okay, possibly. Okay, but in any event, we're still in a question, right? You told me Na'al comes to exclude what? A get. Not true. Na'al comes to tell you that the Na'al can belong to the friend. It can belong to the friend. So what does the word? So what do you know? So you only have one drosha called Na'al, and you try to learn 2 things. One of them is to learn what? To exclude the get. We said, no, there's something else to learn from that, to say that the shoe doesn't have to belong to him. And says the Gemara, "Im ken nichtov kro nal." If all you want to learn is one thing, you should have written the word nal without hanal. My hanal. It says the shoe. Shmas minotarti. We'll learn two things from here. Hanal comes to tell you what? The shoe. The shoe. In English, it's even better than Hebrew. Two words. The shoe. Two words over here. Hanal. And therefore, you learn two things. One thing you learn what? It has to be or can be, and now that's not owned by him. That's halacha today. Yeah, it's based in shoe. Besides that, it's teaching us what we want to learn. Now comes to tell you only chalitza is the way out of Yavama, excluding get. Long journey, Rabbi Yosef, but we figured at the end of the day that the shoe, taking off the shoe, is the only way of the Yavama, excluding get. So again, so it's very easy now. We try to basically play, cross reference to merge everything together. That the Yavama should go out with a get, and the woman, regular one, bechalitza. We excluded both. Let's repeat. Let's review. How do you know that a regular woman married? We're continuing, my friend. How do you know the regular woman doesn't go out with chalitza? Clearly, sefer krisus, sefer koso, vendovacha koso. Only a get gets her out. Besides death, nothing else. Not even chalitza of any shape or form. How do you know, on the other hand, that the Yavama cannot be freed and released with a get? Because it says hanal. Only the shoe takes her out and not the get. A little bit of a Mishnah to feel the taste of freedom. We learn about avodim. Says the Mishnah, Eved Ivri. We're basically, generally speaking, done with matters of how to acquire a waf. And now we're talking about an Eved Ivri. We're also going to talk about Eved Knaini. By the way, from here, the next three Mishnahs talk about different kinyonim. How to acquire an Eved Ivri, Eved Knaini, how to acquire other items, how to acquire land. Eved Ivri. How does one acquire an Eved Ivri? Let me just get it clear for everybody. Eved Ivri is not really an Eved. It's one of the only times I agree with the nice English translations. They don't call it a slave. They call it something else. I don't know, labor, worker. And it's true. It's not just politically correct because the word a help is a help in the house. Very nice. Eved Ivri is a person who you don't own his body. You own his work. He's a servant. You don't own his body. As opposed to Eved Knani, which you do own his body. Yeah. Eved Ivri, his body is not owned. Ein gufay konuloi. You only buy his work, and he's committed to you, and he has to do the work. Yeah. But the Eved Ivri is not a person who's owned by you. Now, another common mistake is people think that the Eved Ivri, the only way to acquire Eved Ivri is if somebody stole and he doesn't have money to pay, right? So he's sold as an Eved Ivri. That's true, but it's not exclusive. Sometimes people sell themselves as Eved Ivri because they're just very poor. And we're going to see differences in halacha between the two types of Eved Ivri. Some of Eved Ivrim are sold by BSD because BSD, he had no money to pay for the theft, so he's sold by BSD. Some people sell themselves. He needs the work, he needs a parnos, he needs three things he needs: kesef, money, and geld. So now he's an Eved Ivri. So an Eved Ivri, yeah, can sell himself too. There are differences. An Eved Ivri, when he leaves you, after the time he leaves, after his tenure is over, you have to give him matanos, you have to give him gifts, anek tanik, you give him nice things. It says what? Yeah, all kinds of fruit and things like that, oil, wine. And this is Eved Ivri, and we're going to learn how is Eved Ivri acquired, and how does Eved Ivri go free. But that will be hopefully tomorrow, Mitzvah Hashem. Hatzlacha bracha, Mashiach now, should all be avodim of the one and only Hashem. Thank you to the people on Torah Anytime YouTube channel, to our Zoom participants, Jeff and Daniel. Hatzlacha Rabba, thank you. A good week.